Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's growth call. My name is Steve Jane. Looks like we've got Christoph and Manfred on the line as well. Hello, guys. We hold these growth calls every week to discuss how the Bisq network has been doing and what we can do to further its growth even more. We like to think of Bisq as the only true decentralized Bitcoin exchange where you can trade Bitcoin for other cryptocurrency like Monero or other fiat currency like the US dollar or the euro, while protecting your privacy and your security to a very high degree. Also, the software is structured to be as resistant to censorship as possible. That's why it's software that you have to download and install, and trading happens over a peer-to-peer network. So resilience is a very big part of the project as well, and important to keep in mind. For this call, I've posted if you're watching on YouTube, I've posted a link to the Hangouts in the YouTube chat. If you'd like to join us here in the chat, you're more than welcome. Otherwise, feel free to post your comments in the Hangout or in the YouTube chat, and we'll respond as we can. For today, our agenda is primarily 3 items. We want to talk about do a market overview, look at volume for the month of February and the first few days of March. Then we'd like to talk about the new release. 0.9.5 was released yesterday, and there are a couple items we'd like to mention there. And third, I'd like to talk about DAO testing and how we'd like to proceed with that. So before we begin that, I just want to quickly mention that this weekend is going to be the MIT Bitcoin Expo. I'm going to be there on a panel moderated by Lee Quen of CoinDesk, with Ryan Fox of BitShares and Ethan North of Nash. Also decentralized exchanges, but of course very different approaches and probably very different customer target customers. But still, the event is going to be packed with a lot of the most respectable and respected people in the Bitcoin community. So I'm really looking forward to it, and it's bound to be some great talks. I believe they're going to be live streaming it. So if you'd like to see the panel I'm going to be on or any of the other events, you can. And of course, they'll be recorded so you can watch them afterwards as well. So that should be good. Yeah, so on to the market overview. Christoph, would you like to take over?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Steve. If we look at the total volume, of course, February is a shorter month, so every day counts. So we saw about 2.5 million US dollar volume, which is a decrease compared to January. But also, if you look at the daily average numbers, so the daily average Bitcoin volume, we had about 23.5 Bitcoin, so that's a decrease by 22%. And the daily number of trades are also a little bit down to 62, which is roughly 18%. So, but what we see is that this is mainly because of the Monero market. So at the moment, over the last couple of months, the Monero market brings most of the volume on the Bisq platform, and that causes this high volatility in volume as well. So if a couple of whales just stop trading, then we see that in the total trading as well. If you look at the Euro Bitcoin or US dollar Bitcoin market, which are our second and third strongest market, there it looks completely different. So there we see a continuous growth rate month over month. So there we have a good organic growth. But of course, we'd like to see a hockey stick again, also in total volume. And just on the latest release and the release before, there are coming more and more changes that should help to improve liquidity, total volume as well. That's from just general the market overview from February. Now in March, it's looking quite similar to February. We had an outstanding day in there as well. So I think it was one day, 250,000 US dollars trading volume. But the other days are compared similar like in February. So we'll see how it goes. And we just released a new version of Bisq. Was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? I think Manfred, can you tell us a little bit about the main features that were shipped with that release?
Yeah, it's actually a little bit related with this Monero spikes, and so we tried in the past already a few times to get more in touch with those power traders, also these pro traders, to get feedback from them. And luckily I managed to get in direct contact with one, and he gave me very valuable feedback. And one was that he had quite a lot of failed take-offer attempts and then failed trading fees. And so we knew about this problem, but I was not aware that it was so strong for some users. I mean, he traded a lot, so that from the numbers it looked quite a lot, in the percentage was also not so bad. But it made clear to me that, of course, it's much more problem, like we have been aware, and we need to try to find a quick fix for this, and that went into the release then. Another important feedback was about that for a pro trader, it's very important to not have locked in their Bitcoin or their altcoin for too long, because then they don't have so much resources to go on. And we had already in the past a little bit of an idea of kind of like live trading, or to make special offers which can only be taken by another peer who is really in front of the computer and can execute it directly. So we added this as well. We call it instant trading. At the moment, it's only for altcoins. Maybe in future we add it also for those fiat payment methods which are instant, like Revolut, or I think Cell, I think is also more or less instant, and yeah, quite a few others as well. And it's basically just a requirement that the trade has to be completed in between 1 hour. So you only can take an offer when you are in front of your computer and do when you're the buyer, do the transfer really in time as soon as it's confirmed. The time starts counting after the Bitcoin confirmation time. So when Bitcoin takes 20 minutes for confirmation, it doesn't matter. And we also try that, as we talked with the arbitrators, that it should try to close more quickly altcoin trades. With Monero, the send of Monero can provide a proof, and there is an online service where the arbitrators can verify the proof, and they don't need to wait until the other peer is responding, which usually takes quite a little bit of time. And also with other altcoins, we just use more the possibility to look up on the block explorer, and when the other peer is not responding quickly, then it gets closed. And yeah, I think, I mean, important kind of like communication to the communities. When you are using Bisq heavily, please get in touch, give us our feedback, because it results directly in improvement of the software. All this was implemented over the weekend quite quickly, and it was not really big changes and difficult changes. We were just not that aware of the priority for some users for these things, and with feedback, of course, we can shift our priorities and can change things that Bisq is more usable for you. Yeah, so the instant trading was a main feature. The fix for this failed take-off attempts was there is an issue that it's probably related to standby mode, and probably mainly on laptops which run on battery or on in different environments. We're investigating the context when it happens and how to fix it. But it's mainly the case that the maker's computer is in standby mode. It get throttled the network resources. It's still enough that he can republish his offer, so the offers are live. And when the taker is trying to take the offer, the network resource of the maker is too low to really respond in time, and the taker gets a timeout. Until now, the taker has lost his trade fee because that was already published at this time. And we changed this now to delay the publishing of this trade fee, and also to avoid that he lose the trade fee, which he can make a reimbursement and ask that he get it paid it back. But it's still a lot of hassle for us and for them, and bad user experience, of course. We still need a little bit of time to fix the underlying problem, so that those offers from the makers when they don't have full network resources, that they get removed from the offer book, so that it still can be the problem. You take an offer and then you wait 1.5 minutes until you get the timeout, and then you see the peer was not online, and you can try with another offer. You still lose time and it's still bad user experience. So we try to fix this as well, but that takes a little bit of investigation. And so and we could need help for this. There are not many Windows users among the developers. And we would need different Windows systems in different conditions, when it runs on a laptop, when it runs with battery or not, to really see how the standby behavior works on different environments and contexts, and to find out what's really the problem and how we can fix it. So when you're a developer and using Windows, please get in touch. We could use your help here. And of course, it's up for compensation requests. So anybody who is adding value and helping us can earn money. Then the other feature was the percentage-based buyer security deposit. So when you are the maker, you can define how much the buyer has to pay a security deposit. The context for this is because the buyer who need to send either the fiat amount or the altcoin to the Bitcoin seller, he could, when the price is moving against his interest, he could decide to not do the payment, and we cannot do anything against this, basically. And to make it more safe that he's sticking with the trade agreement, and even if the price moves against him, that he's continuing the trade. There is this security deposit for the buyer. There's also a security deposit for the seller, but for the seller it's much lower because the seller cannot bail out of the trade anymore. But the only thing what the seller can do is to not confirm the receipt, and then it goes to arbitration and he loses security deposit, but he cannot avoid that the buyer is sending him the money and then gets the Bitcoin. So for the buyer, it's usually a higher security deposit. Until now, we had a fixed amount in Bitcoin, which was not really a good idea at the end. And we got the feedback from some users also that it would be much better to have it percentage based on the amount, because it's a difference if you make a 2 Bitcoin trade with an altcoin, or if you just trade with a small amount. And the security deposit, because it's mostly related to this kind of option trading or future trading, where people are speculating on quick price movements, and with very volatile altcoin markets, it can be that in a few hours or whatever the price moves against you, and when the amount what you would lose to continue the trade is larger, like your security deposit, then you have basically an economic interest to not continue the trade. So it's in the hand of the maker to set it. When he himself is the buyer, then he sets the security deposit for himself, but it gives a signal to the taker. So when he set the high security deposit, it gives a signal that he will stick with the trade even if the price is very volatile. So it still makes sense when you are the buyer and the maker to set the higher security deposit, because it gives confidence to a taker, and your offer will be easier taken probably.
Manfred, if I'm the seller, how can I see if a user has a high deposit on the trade, on the offer?
Yeah, at the moment you have to click on the also in the offer book at I think it's at the altcoin, or in this column of the payment method. When you click on this, you get the pop-up with the details of the offer, and there you can see the buyer and the seller security deposit. For the seller, it's always fixed. It's also percentage based now on the trade amount. So the higher the trade amount, the higher is the seller security deposit as well. And both have a minimum. They cannot go below a certain level. And we have to work on UI improvements to make it more visible for the trader, that you see it already in the overview with some indicators, graphic indicators. So that's on our to-do list as well. Then there was another important improvement for the Bisq DAO for testnet. Until recently, you only could spend confirmed UTXO, and that was kind of confusing. You make a proposal and then you need to wait for a blockchain confirmation, because only after the blockchain confirmation, the Bisq transactions are validated, and then they are available for spending again. But to improve usability in that area, we allow now that you can spend your own change output. So when you make a transaction and you receive the change output from your own transaction, we can assume that you are not cheating or whatever. You don't try to make a invalid Bisq transaction, and you can continue to use this UTXO even they are unconfirmed. And there's no security risk. The worst thing what could happen is that you make a follow-up transaction and the whole chain of transactions become invalid and could cause usability or UI issues in the worst case, but it's not expected because as long as there's no bug in the code, that shouldn't happen. And as long as users are not creating their own custom transactions by scratch, which they never should do, that's very dangerous. So yeah, that's a big usability improvement for everybody who is helping us testing the DAO. So now you can create 10 proposals just in a row without the requirement to wait for a blockchain confirmation. And it was especially important for traders when we go live and people use Bisq for paying the trading fee. They don't want to wait when they want to make 5 offers in a row. They don't want to wait for a confirmation in between, of course. So yeah, I think that's more or less from my side.
Yeah. Sorry, Manfred?
Yeah, there's maybe a little bit another topic, but we can discuss, if we want to discuss it later. I think one reason why we got quite a bit of increase, and also we've seen it on social media that many people talked about Bisq, is because of this disaster from Coinbase and how they tried to fix it by hiring a hacking team, a chain analysis company, which were run by ex-hacking team people. And hacking team has a terrible reputation. They have produced surveillance software for authoritarian human right violating regimes, and also they have a terrible track record. They are really evil. And Coinbase, a major Bitcoin exchange, is buying up such a company. So that's a signal to people who are not completely naive. And yeah, they tried to fix it then with a statement that they will not take over the employees who have worked at hacking team. Yeah, okay, then they can work as freelance or whatever. I mean, yeah. Make your own critical opinion about this, and many people had done this, and and were looking out for alternatives. And I think that's one of the reasons why especially the dollar volume, maybe one of the reasons why the dollar volume has increased, and people get more aware that exchanges are forced in this in this KYC surveillance system, and it doesn't develop in a good direction, as we see.
Yeah, absolutely. Manfred, I wanted just to quickly double down what you mentioned before on giving us feedback. So as you see with Coinbase, that's a big difference with Bisq. Privacy is core of the product, and we don't have any tracking within the client. So we don't know if the client, if an update, if something fails within the client, if there are some usability issues. Of course, we use it ourselves, and we have some monitoring in place. But yeah, it's really important that if you have any problems with the client, if you have any ideas, what you think would be a great improvement for the Bisq software, talk to us on Slack, on GitHub. Yeah, only if we know what's going wrong, we can fix it. And if we know there is something going wrong, then we fix it quite quickly. And yeah. It's really up to every one of us to improve the software, and you can help us a lot by telling us what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Just want to mention that once again.
Yeah, maybe another important topic, which is a little bit more from the development side, but I think it affects users, so I think it's important for non-technical users as well. We got, over the last months, we got a lot of increase for the published offers. I think now we have more than 300 offers. Half a year ago, we had usually roughly 150 offers or so live. And the offers are, they're creating a lot of load for the peer-to-peer network. because they're sending out all the time update messages that they're still alive and so on. And we have found out now that we have at the moment issues with the peer-to-peer network, that it's a little bit under too heavy load, and the broadcasting and the delivery from messages is not as reliable as it has been in the past. It's not terribly bad, but it's not as it should be. And we have already some ideas how to fix this. So probably with the next release, which might be already in 2 weeks again, we will have probably some big improvements for the peer-to-peer network, and that should help to make, on the one side, offers more reliable. So when you have published an offer, that is really 100% available to all the other peers, and not that it might be not visible to some peers because they have not been well connected with the rest of the network, as well as lost messages during the trade process or in the dispute. That this has become much more rare, like it is at the moment.
Cool. All right. Great. Now, I guess speaking of feedback and speaking of the Bisq DAO, I want to give a quick update on DAO testing. Last week, we invited everybody on the call and in the community to help us test the Bisq DAO. I want to thank people who did join. We had a number of new users join and get test BSQ for the first time and go through a whole voting round. That round went well. It just ended today, I think, earlier today. And yeah, with the updates of the recent 0.9.5 release, just more improvements to make the process smoother. In particular, the update Manfred discussed about being able to spend unconfirmed BSQ outputs should make the whole process smoother and quicker and less frustrating. So that's one important thing. The second thing is that we're offering rewards for testing. So this is it's outlined on the doc, which I guess I'll put a link to in the YouTube chat. But basically, we want feedback. As Christoph mentioned earlier, for the client, feedback is very important. For the DAO, feedback is very important as well. Perhaps, if I might say, maybe even more important, since the DAO is going live very, very soon. So we have a survey. It's very short, 4 short questions. And if you could fill that out after you go through testing the DAO, after you're going through a process of voting, please just take a couple of minutes, fill it out. They're just quick questions on your experience. If you find anything confusing, or if you had any errors during the process, would help us dramatically. So that's one thing you can do. Another thing is just create a GitHub issue. So if there is a suggestion you have or something that's appropriate for a GitHub issue, there's a reward for that as well. We just ask that you don't do anything trivial or frivolous, like change a color here or add spacing here. If you could please keep it relevant to or helpful to meaningful enough for developers to help improve the software and the user experience, that'd be very, very helpful. And the third thing you can do, which is a little bit more advanced, is if you find any bugs in data consistency or the consensus mechanism or some other major bug, there's some bigger awards up for that. So all awards are in BSQ. Once you complete a survey or create an issue or report a flaw, you're welcome to submit a compensation request for the month. Process for that is also in the docs, which I'll put a link to in the YouTube chat as well. So yeah, we invite you to test. Please, for this round, the round just new voting cycle round just started today. So you'll be able to submit proposals for the next day or two. And once you go through the round, if you could do a survey or create an issue, would be a huge help. So yeah, and the process, I've also actually made a video on the process, a quick 90-second overview of the process. It's really not very hard to do. There's a video that goes through the basic process. There's a doc that goes through it in more detail. So take a look at those. It's pretty quick. You'll have to request test Bisq and test Bitcoin in order to use Bisq in testnet mode. But once you do, it's pretty quick to make a proposal and vote and participate in a round. So we'd love for you to take part. Anything else you guys would like to add? Let me take a quick look at the chat.
I think maybe a little bit I give an overview about the roadmap with the DAO. So yeah, we are still in the testing phase, of course, but it looks everything pretty good. As we have not discovered any critical bugs anymore. We're working on UI improvements mainly at the moment, and next to mainly, I think what's missing really is more possibilities to monitor the DAO state, so that we are really 100% sure that there are not hidden consensus differences that some users have in the vote results, for instance, some different data. So we just added a small button for exporting the JSON file. That was easy fix, but there will come more low tech stuff, or no low tech, low level technical features where we can get basically a hash from the whole DAO state and then compare it that every block, it has to be the same at all users basically, and add this to our new monitoring system, which is already very sophisticated for the peer-to-peer network and for many other infrastructure from Bisq, and also for the offers and trades and price. And so if you have not checked it out yet, have a look to it. It's quite cool. The domain is monitoring, I think, or monitor. Let me quickly look. Monitor Bisq.network. And yeah, you can play around, and there's a lot of data, a lot of interesting stuff. And the other should be added as well for the DAO. So basically the state of the DAO, the consensus state, will be visible there, and every client will check with the other nodes if they're on the same page, and if not, alert us that we can find out if there is any issue. So when this is done, I think and when we have not found any issues and so on, then we would be basically ready for a launch. So in the best case, can be end of this month. And so hurry up if you want to be part of the Genesis distribution. That's just a few weeks left probably, and helping us testing is one of the easiest thing probably to get to run some Bisq. Or when you're a developer, join us. There's always a lot of open task or anything else what you can add as well here to Bisq, helping us on the communication side, helping us. We have this series now from blog posts where everybody's invited to write the blog post about the Bisq or the DAO or their experience with being a Bisq user, contributor, whatever. It's very open and very basically can be very opinionated. Also not super very opinionated, because it's still kind of like on our official web page, but it can be quite opinionated. Doesn't mean that it's the official it's not in any official voice of Bisq or so there is more freedom there. And maybe just a small topic back to this Coinbase disaster with chain analysis, because I think there was an interesting extra context that they stated that they have moved and bought this other company because they had basically lost data, or their other partner, whoever it was, a chain analysis company, required too many user data from them. So basically it was a data leak that they had to give out a lot of user data that they are doing the service for them. And it seems that this is an established standard how they work. Also this big chain analysis company, they are in a kind of like monopolistic situation. All centralized exchanges are forced to use them for KYC. And there are just a few big players who really have the capabilities to do it in the level what the regulators require. And they are collecting data not only from one exchange and analyzing this, they are matching, and that's probably their business potential or their value, that they are collecting all kind of data from all kind of exchanges and matching them together, and they are the only one who can control it and probably don't give out the information about this collection of data. So it's a new form of big data business, very evil one, or surveillance business, to name it more concretely. And I think people should be aware that probably no exchange can escape this, because they're all forced into this regulatory straitjackets. And even if it's a nice exchange with nice CEOs like Kraken, I'm not sure how long or how much they can resist against this, because probably those chain analysis company, they sit on the longer side, and they would reject to work with you when you are not delivering the data to them. And like Coinbase did, to build on their own or to buy up their own and do it by themselves might be an alternative, but it costs a lot of money and takes a lot of time. And when they are buying companies which was run by people from hacking team, then it's even worse probably. So it just shows that the political context from Bitcoin exchanges is in a very dangerous state, I would say, and I think it's time that the people wake up. It's not good for Bitcoin. What's going on here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Otherwise, from my side, don't have anything to add. Maybe we can
for me as well. So I don't have anything special to add.
Yeah, I think me too. I just actually want to say, just in response to what Manfred just said, made a tweet yesterday referencing Coinbase's actions, and I think it's done by far the best that any tweet has ever done. In the sense it went viral. I mean, people I think really understand, and it's really been entering the awareness of people in the Bitcoin community and even beyond. So it's I guess one silver lining is that these things are happening, but I think people are realizing. So that's a good sign. But yeah, that's it from my end. Take a look at the chat to see if we have any comments. You have Garland saying that he'll definitely do the survey. Appreciate that, Garland. Maybe wait a minute or two for any additional comments or questions. All right, well, if that's it, then I'd like to thank everybody for joining, and we'll see you here again next week.
Bye. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.